Tonight, on a Nation Sports Show, we start our coverage of this year's NBA Finals as the Miami Heat finally took out the Boston Celtics in 7 games after the Celtics made a furious rally, tying the series at 3 games apiece. They will take on the Denver Nuggets for the first time since 1999. We have a 1 seed versus an 8 seed. We preview the finals. Now, it's showtime.
Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up.
From the gridiron to the court, talking all that is sport, breaking down the latest news, scores, and more. Welcome to our Nation Sports Show. Oh yeah, you know what time it is. Welcome to another edition of our Nation Sports Show live here on YouTube. And man, we have an action-packed show for you tonight. But before we get down to business, folks, we got to plug the social media platforms on Twitter at @ON_sports show, Facebook.com/Nation Sports Show, and where we are live right now on YouTube.com/Our Nation Sports Show. And I am your host for this evening, Stephen Wyand, taking over the big boy chair as Ezra is out for the evening. He will be back with us next week. And we are looking forward to talking about the world of sports. And also don't forget to follow the Nation's Corner on Twitter at Nation's Corner. Everywhere else on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, it is at the Nation's Corner. And don't forget to check out the Nation's Corner this Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 p.m. Pacific time, as the guys and gal will talk about AEW, Double or Nothing from Sin City in Las Vegas, Nevada. And also the latest, news and stories from the WWE, Impact, and so much more. And joining me tonight, he is a fellow sports maniac like myself, yours truly. He is a fan of the Golden State Warriors. He is the man that built the Bang Bang Niner Gang Foundation. He's a good buddy of mine for 19 glorious years. He's my man, my partner in crime for tonight, K-Rod, Kevin Ward. What's going on, pal?
Hey, what's going on, dude? And happy to be back on the show tonight. Hope everybody out here liked the NBA playoffs as the finals get set, and got a little 2-man crew tonight. But you know what? The NBA finals is set, and boy, we got a lot to get into. So let's do it.
Yes, we do, and we will get right to it right now. As we all know, the Nuggets were waiting to see who they were going to face in the finals. And man, we listen, on this show last week, we wrote the Celtics eulogy. They're done. They're going to lose in 5. They're going to lose it. No. Boston made a furious rally, tying this Eastern Conference Finals at 3 games apiece. So, I mean, in game 4, Boston got a win. We're like, all right, it's over in 5, whatever. Boston just goes on at home and absolutely dominates Miami. Miami had 16 turnovers, something like that, for 20-some-odd points. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart, they were just raining threes. They were hitting their threes like no tomorrow. And just they dominated Miami. And Jimmy Butler only had 14 points in that game. And listen, I mean, we knew that Jimmy Butler was gonna show back up. He's not gonna let one bad game, affect his play. And okay, so you get game 4 on the road, or get game 4 on the road, and then you go back home for a pivotal game, game 5 to possibly have a chance. You dominate on your home floor. You did your job. Then in game 6. Just when you thought the ante couldn't be lifted up even more, boy, oh boy. Game 6 was one for the ages, and just it was back and forth, back and forth. Boston seemed to have full control, but then in typical Boston fashion, they just got super relaxed and choked away that 10-point lead. And Jimmy Butler scored 15 points in that fourth quarter and gave the Heat a 1-point lead off of a foul by Al Horford, sending him to the 3-point line for 3 free throws, which Butler hit all 3. And many will argue that Butler double dribbled, and they didn't call that, but that's neither here nor there because you can't do nothing about it because it's in the past. Butler hits all 3 free throws, and then Boston takes a timeout, and then they draw up the play to get the ball to Tatum and give the credit to Miami, for turning the ball away from him because they know, hey, we can't let him get the ball. And Marcus Smart took the 3, rimmed out. He rushed the shot, by the way. And then somehow Derek White tips that ball in. And mind you, they added 3 seconds to the clock instead of it being 2.5. So them adding that extra second was crucial to the Celtics getting that miraculous putback, sending it back to Boston for Game 7 on Monday night. And for the first time in NBA history, the team trailing 3-0. Not only did they come back and tie the series, but they host Game 7 on their home floor. So history was going to be made regardless on Monday night. But honestly, and we said this before the show, bro, if you could teleport to Boston right then and there and play that game right there, and it seemed like 20 seconds later, as soon as this game tips off, and then the opening sequence happens, it's a literal nightmare before our very eyes. And in that point in time, the Celtics' dreams of being the first team to win a series after trailing 3-0 went up in smoke because Jason Tatum rolled his ankle and he was in significant pain. And Kev, you've been a sports fan just like me all your life, and you've seen some ugly injuries in football and all these different sports and stuff. And usually when a nasty injury like that happens, usually the fellow teammates for the team picks their fellow. Well, what do we have here? Joining us right now
That's LeBron
on
James
this show. Hey, you ain't late. You ain't late 5 minutes before the show goes live. And now you're here, Joey. And we're going to
get a ring microphone on the show today.
Holding.
Man, shut up, Kevin.
On the offense.
Traveling.
Taking our penalty. First down. Yeah. But yeah, dude, we were just talking about this Eastern Conference Finals and all that good stuff. And just, man, it's madness, man. Just in Game 7, we were just talking about it, how that Tatum injury, it was ugly. And you could just tell that the wind was taken out of the Celtics team and the fan base and stuff. When that injury happened, it's like the team, they gave up. That's what it seemed to me. They were trying, but my God. Jaylen Brown was just god awful last night. He had many points as he had field goals. Many turnovers as he had field goals. It was horrible. We were just talking about this, Joey. So before we get to Game 7, so what were your thoughts? Because we talked about this briefly last night. Because, when you look at the big picture, the Celtics were done. They were done. Everybody, including all of us, wrote their eulogy saying that they were done. And Miami gave away 3 consecutive games to the Celtics, including that miraculous that game-winning shot by Derek White on Saturday night. And just, in Game 5, they dominated. Game 4, they got a victory. Game 6, they got lucky and won. And I want to get your thoughts on when you saw the Celtics go on this miraculous run to tie up this series. What was going through your mind? You know what I mean? It was crazy. We all thought that this was over, but they somehow turned it around and they tied it up. What were your thoughts?
So last week, when we pretty much wrote the eulogy for Boston last week, we all, you, me, and Ezra, thought that Boston was literally done. We thought they had thrown in the towel, gave up, and just wait until possibly next season. But then all of a sudden, they win game 4. Okay, great. You got one game. So now you can go back home and try to blow it in game 5. Because they've blown it at home twice earlier in the series. So it's like, okay, they're going back home. Great. The Heat can beat them a third time in a row in Boston. But then all of a sudden they take game 5. And they're like, what? 3-2 now? Could we be seeing a series? Game 6. It was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Right there, when that last 3-pointer rimmed out with, as time was running off the clock, Heat fans were like, oh yeah, this is our series, this is our game, we're going to win this, we're going to Denver for game 1 of the NBA Finals, let's go. And then all of a sudden, Derek White is like, nope. I'm making this into a game 7, boys. Y'all get ready. And at that point, I was like, whoa, could we be seeing the impossible here? But going into game 7, Boston knew what they had to do. They knew they had to keep Jimmy Butler in check. They knew they had to keep Kevin Love, Kyle Lowry in check. And for the most part, they kept Jimmy Butler in check. Yes, he did score 28 points, but there was one person they forgot about, and that was Caleb Martin. The dude was on fire last night, scoring 26 points, and he scored 100 of the points throughout the whole series, which may not seem like a lot, seeing as how the series went a full 7 games. But seeing as how he scored 26 in that Game 7 win last night, I mean, Miami was like, yeah, we're on the road here in Game 7, but we've been on the road before. Every game, every team has a 50-50 chance of winning no matter what the venue is. Mm-hmm. And Miami didn't let this hostile crowd, they didn't let Boston's good luck streak, they didn't let it faze them. And Miami went out and played the game that they were supposed to play. And Boston, I will say, I do have mad respect for Jason Tatum. Mad respect. Because even though he got that sprained ankle, he still played 42 minutes. So mad respect to you, Jason Tatum. But Jaylen Brown, like you have been saying, Kevin, in the messenger, Jaylen Brown has earned, in my opinion, a one-way ticket to free agency. A one-way ticket to another team. Because, yeah, Boston may want him, but let's get something straight here. Jaylen Brown needs Boston. Boston doesn't need him. Jaylen Brown needs Boston. But Boston does not need him. Yes, Jaylen Brown may be the second best player on Boston right now, but when you have when you play a game where you have as many turnovers as you did field goals on your home floor, then you know that there's a problem.
Yes.
And Boston, they just didn't play like they wanted it last night. They fell flat. They couldn't knock a shot down. They couldn't do nothing last night. So, honestly, they deserve to lose that game because they did not play like they wanted.
And you know what? And I'm not making excuses for them. I'm just stating the obvious. They were gassed. Like when you have to expel a lot of energy just to climb back up that mountain and get back in the series, and then just when you are reaching the mountaintop and that injury happens, like, look, I understand that the natural feeling in that building last night was stunned silence, and they were quiet, and they just couldn't believe what they were seeing. But at the same time, at that present moment, the players have to react. They have to show up. They have to lift Tatum up, because at that point, he was a one-legged man, proverbially in an ass-kicking contest. And Jason Tatum was on one leg, could not get it, could not do the normal bags of tricks that he normally would do. And even if Tatum is healthy, Miami still probably would have won that game, because like you said, it's 50-50. Just because you have Uncle Momentum on your side in game 7 on your home floor and you won 3 consecutive games, that's not guaranteeing you history. You have to get it done. And Marcus Smart, Al Horford, especially Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown absolutely shit the bed last night. Like, this was honestly as worse of a performance in a game 7. And mind you, and Kev, you said this last night, dude, that game 7 through 3 quarters was ugly. It was ugly basketball. And Denver is licking their chops when they're watching these two teams just beat the living hell out of each other. I mean, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray just going, we're just going to sit here and chill. We're at home. We ain't got to go nowhere. We can watch these two teams just beat the daylights out of each other, and we can just sit back and relax. And, I mean, look, Miami, honestly, they're not an 8 seed. By record, they are, yes, but they're not playing like an 8 seed. And last night, Jimmy Butler, even though he scored 28 points, Caleb Martin, for me, was the difference maker in game 7. Just when Boston had every ounce of momentum on their side, Martin, 3, mid-range jumper, 3. Martin was all over the floor last night. He was hitting shots, after shot. And Jimmy Butler, got to give him credit. Him and Spoelstra said, hey, we're going to be ready. We're going to be ready. And they were. And their defense they were turning the Celtics away. They were switching their pick and rolls. I mean, nobody's talking about that, but they were switching their pick and roll more than they have been in the last 6 games combined. That was the most switching they did all series long. And it came to fruition. And Miami they took care of business. And I have to give them a lot of credit. Go ahead, Kev.
I'll tell you like this. Like Draymond Green said on the Draymond Green show, they are who we thought they were. Boston in the last 2 postseasons are literally a 500 team at home, which means they stink at home. They stink in the Garden for some reason. Not your typical Boston Celtics nest, like you could say, because they stink at home. But like Draymond said, when the pressure was at its most, the Celtics did what the Celtics have done. Starting back in the 2018 Eastern Conference Finals, LeBron James, Game 7, they choked. And yes, they were young. 2022 NBA Finals against the Golden State Warriors. The pressure was on. Going into the Garden, you lose Game 4 and you lose Game 6. You bust. You choked. And now going back to this year, James Harden, eat your ass up for 45 in the Garden. Game 1, the last series, you choked. Then you had to go to Game 7, and this is where I respect Tatum, because he said, I'm not losing this shit. I'm going to take the fuck over. And he did. So I respect Jason Tatum. He has earned his love. I've always loved him, even when he was at Duke. But the rest of these chodes, get out of here. Because you know what? The Celtics have did nothing but choke. The only reason they didn't choke last year is because they had a good coach who they absolutely did wrong. I don't care what nobody says. Unless he's accused of sexual harassment or none of this other stuff. Yes, cheating on your spouse is horrible. Is it a law? No. Is it a crime? No. So why did Boston boot Ime Udoka out the fucking door for this chode of a damn coach who obviously wasn't ready for the spotlight? Because I tell you another reason too. Game 7, here's the difference. Everybody can run their mouth about the Jason Tatum ankle injury. Well, guess what? I got news for you. It ain't like Tyler Hero, the Heat's second best scorer, didn't miss the whole game 1 through 7. But everybody acts like, oh, Tatum by himself. No, you know what happened? Miami, because they're well coached. The culture in Miami is what you want. They stepped the fuck up. Caleb Martin just last year had 0 minutes in that Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics. Did not play. Come into this series, he had to play. He stepped up. He made some plays. All these guys made plays. Kyle Lowry came in.
Vincent made plays.
Max Strus came in, made some plays. And the Celtics absolutely just blew up. And here's the key. Eric Spoelstra, you talk about switching to pick and roll. It's much deeper than that, Stephen. From a player's perspective, I'll tell you exactly what happened. They were talking about it on SportsCenter. JJ Redick said it best. The Heat went to a zone defense, and Boston, because they're not coached well, look like a bunch of goofs, not knowing how to attack the zone. Shooting three-pointers is not how you attack a zone defense. You run pick and rolls. You want to break the zone down and then find the open guys. These guys were playing one-on-one, just step back three. I thought it was James Harden in a Boston Celtics uniform for a while, the way they were playing. Like, you got to get the ball to the free throw line. Cause the zone to break down. When the zones break down, kick it out to the open man. Probably would have got more three-pointers that way instead of just chunking up prayers. And then, like Charles Barkley said, he said, who the fuck do these dumbasses think they are? Steph and Clay? Because some of these shots are absolutely stupid that the Boston Celtics are taking. They're just jacking it up from anywhere, not trying to get in the paint, not trying to draw fouls, just settling and throwing up stupid shots. That's coaching. That is Eric Spoelstra doing what he does best. And then you got Mazzella on the sideline looking like a clown, don't know how to adjust. And you know what? That's a simple adjustment. That zone is a simple go into halftime, get it adjusted, and win. Boston did not know how to do that. I promise you the mistakes and the turnovers would not have happened if Ime Udoka was still the head coach for the Boston Celtics. You know why?
Oh, absolutely not.
Year, when Jaylen Brown fucked up last year, when Tatum fucked up, he was in the middle of the floor yelling at his players and demanding accountability. And then they stepped up and played better. There's no accountability on this team. And you talk about Jaylen Brown, yes, he dropped the ball, but I tell you what, one of them needs to go. And it's got to be Brown. You got to keep Tatum. Because here's the thing that you got to know about good duos in the NBA. You got to make each other better. You got to feed off each other. Just like JJ Redick said, both of them are just one-on-one players. They don't make each other better. One's just like we said about the Kyrie Irving and Luka. It's the same situation. Luka's going to shine, but Kyrie Irving's just going to stand there and look stupid, like literally not do nothing. That's the same way this Brown and Tatum situation is. When you look at key duos, a lot of duos feed off each other. Even LeBron and Anthony Davis, that pick and roll, the roll to the basket, the alley-oop, stuff like that. You look at Steph and Clay running off screens, running all which way, getting each other open. They work together. You look at other duos, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray with that give and go, like shot, that handoff action that they run at the top of the key. They work together. The Chris Paul and Kevin Durant, even then they work together. Anybody, Giannis and Drew Holiday, like they all make each other better. Jaylen Brown, Tatum do not make each other better. One just does his thing and the other stands on the side looking pretty and trying to look for the camera making $50 million. That's not how you play basketball. If I'm Boston, I'll tell you, if I'm Boston, I'm doing everything in my power to trade Jaylen Brown to the Portland Trailblazers for Damian Lillard. It's that simple. If I'm the Boston Celtics. I'm like Boston has choked enough. The reason this time, Eric Spoelstra ran circles around him. And you know what? Game 6, just like Draymond said, man, that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But at the end of the game, the Celtics should have lost that right there. They should have been done in 6. They literally, they are lucky. If that ball literally, look up the math, has only like a 10% chance of bouncing the way it did. And everything about that had to go right. And it did, including the refs putting 5/10 of a second back on the clock, which was still mind-boggling. But Tatum is the reason they got that bucket, because the guy who was guarding Derek White on the inbound was so concerned about Tatum, he overreached to get to Tatum, so they couldn't inbound it to Tatum, causing Smart to get the shot up, and nobody was running with Derek White, so he had a free run to the lane to get the rebound, and it just so happened to bounce to him at the last second. So that was more than anything lucky as fuck because Boston doing what they did best. They choked a 10-point lead, fouled Jimmy Butler on a 3 for some inexplicable reason, and then luckily got that lucky bounce. But you know what? I was like everybody else. I said, you know what? It's going back to Boston. Oh, man, I think Boston's going to actually do the unthinkable. I had a slight, but just listening to Eric Spoelstra after the game, he is such a good leader, man. He is so underrated as a coach, as a leader amongst his teams. Like, I mean, Boston clearly had the most talent, but you know what? Talent can only do so much when you have some dogs on the other side who are working their butts off on both ends of the floor. And Eric Spoelstra after the game, speaking like a true leader, at least one of them teams had a leader. He said, you know what? We're going to win game 7. And yeah, people look at it as like, that's cockiness, but that's what your team, like if you're Jimmy Butler, if you're Caleb Martin, if you're them young guys, you want to hear that from your leader. We're going to win this game because that lets you know he has all the confidence in the world. And after such a heartbreaking loss like that, that loss could have gutted the Heat. It could have absolutely took their soul. But you know what? Eric Spoelstra didn't. He kept them guys motivated. He said, don't worry, we're going to win this. Let's go ahead and book our plane ticket to Denver. We're going to win this game in Boston. And you know what? The team followed suit because, yeah, Tatum hurt his ankle, but the whole game, the defense smothered the Celtics. The Celtics couldn't stop Caleb Martin. Again, in a closeout game, the Celtics are letting a North Carolina point guard eat their ass up. Last year was Steph Curry. This year's Caleb Martin. So that's pretty funny to me. Boston is not going to get to the finals. They're not going to win a championship with the team and the roster construction they have right now. You need another coach because Mozilla is not it. Eric Spoelstra, again, ran circles around that clown and made him look stupid in Game 7. Game 7. This was one of the worst offensive shows from the Celtics in any Game 7 in NBA history. 84 points or 83 points in 2023 is absolute nonsense. But you know what? Until they get rid of Jaylen Brown, until they redo their roster, that's what they get. Because you know what? And here's my number one problem with Boston: the players. Like, not Tatum. I love Jason Tatum. They got a bunch of chihuahuas, like I like to call them. They're a bunch of little tiny dogs who do all that barking and no biting. Remember Game 3, Grant Williams runs his mouth to Jimmy Butler. Who is Grant Williams to Jimmy Butler? Jimmy Butler continues to dice him up and tear them up. Al Horford runs his little mouth while they're leading and trying to do a timeout celebration for Miami. It came back to bite him in the ass in Game 1, and Miami stormed back and won, and Al Horford's pouting, trying to fight Jimmy Butler because Jimmy Butler hit him with the same celebration. The way I look at it is, you Chihuahuas need to stop doing all that barking and do a little bit more biting because you're not doing any biting. And then when the Heat turn it around on you and do all the celebrating, you're out there you're pouting about it. I know my mom always told me raising up, don't dish it out if you can't take it back. You got to be able to take it if you can dish it. So Al Horford and Grant Williams did all that shit talking, and they couldn't take it when it mattered most. That's what my problem is with them. Like, come on, dude. If you're going to do all that shit talking, at least back it up. Because neither one of you clowns did it. Jason Tatum, if it weren't for Tatum and Derek White, your ass probably would have been done in 4 anyway.
Exactly. I mean, Kevin, I could not have said that any of that better myself, especially that last point that you made. I mean, 84 points in a Game 7 in NBA Finals is absolutely putrid.
Pathetic.
When these teams are averaging.
Horrible.
I mean, these teams are averaging what? 105, 110, even 115 points a game. I mean,
and I might be a little biased for this opinion, but again, of these playoffs, the best Game 7 to this day was Sacramento and Golden State. Literally a first round Game 7. Been the best Game 7 of these playoffs by far.
Yep. I believe it. And there have been so many other amazing dynamic duos who have made each other better. I mean, look at the 90s with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Early 2000s, Kobe and Shaq. Also early 2000s, Steve Nash and Dirk Nowitzki. I mean,
Ginobili, Parker, Duncan together.
Yeah, Tony Parker and Tim Duncan.
And Wade.
So many other amazing
they made each other better.
I mean, so many other dynamic duos have played this game to make each other better. But Jaylen Brown, I'm sorry, bro, but you got to go. You got to
Damn,
go.
Jordan Poole. Look like Jordan Poole. I'm not sure if I was watching Jaylen Brown or Jordan Poole. Like Shannon Sharp said, I finally found someone who has a worse ball handle than Russell Westbrook. His name is Jaylen Brown. His ball handling sucks. He should have opened him an or a turnover factory with all them damn turnovers he had.
I know.
Good.
I mean, good grief.
It's amazing how, when you look at the way this Celtics team has played, they turn it off, on and off and on and off and on. You can't be like that. You can't take these games off. And that's what this Celtics team did for the rest of the season. They were the best team mathematically in the NBA during the first half of the year up until the All-Star break. And then after the All-Star break, they couldn't even catch their rhythm. And then when they did, it was still a little too late. And
exactly. And not to cut you off there, Stephen, but I do want to point this out real quick as you're talking about it. What was the one thing that I said a couple weeks ago whenever I was on the show? I said the regular season games matter, maybe not as much, but when it comes to playoff time, that intensity, that competitiveness, that drive needs to increase. Otherwise, you ain't going nowhere in the playoffs.
Nope. Absolutely not. And Miami's intensity was just too much for the Celtics. And they had every opportunity. You know, they were even lucky enough to get 2, let alone 3 games in this series. And that's why everybody, including Charles Barkley, after Game 6 said, listen, I'm concerned about the Celtics. I don't trust the Celtics. And look what happened in Game 7. Yes, we know the truth.
Watch halftime of Game 7. Charles Barkley said, and I quote, my head is hurting from watching these dumbass Celtics shoot the ball like they are.
Dude,
boy, Charles Barkley was on them.
You cannot make this up. I mean, the way that the Celtics absolutely, look, okay, listen, I know that the ankle injury was bad for Tatum, but that doesn't give you the excuse to take the rest of the game off.
Nope, because when the same happened to Tyler Hero, Caleb Martin stepped up, Max Strus stepped up, Bam Adebayo stepped up. In Boston, it happens to them. Derek White steps up and everybody else steps down and flops the whole game and crying to the referees. Like, that's not going to win.
And that's the way the ball bounces sometimes. Injuries happen in the sport. Injuries happen in football, basketball, baseball, hockey, you name it. It happens everywhere. And when
it's just something you live with, because every team can look and say, if we'd had such and such healthy, we can do that. If the Warriors had Kevin Durant in the 19 finals, they'd three-peat. If like any injuries, it happens. Like, you could make the case if Kyrie and Kevin Love played in 2015, if Kawhi didn't get hurt here, if Derrick Rose ain't get hurt there. That it's always been
it happens.
It happens. It's just the way the ball bounces. I mean, it sucks. And I hate it happened to such a good guy like Tatum, because I would have liked to see him dominate in the Game 7, because the hate is crazy on Tatum. He's a good basketball. He's a superstar player and a superstar talent.
I love Tatum. I
remember
Tatum's
watching him as a rookie in Game 7 dunk on LeBron James. I knew he was going to be good right then, and then flex on him. I knew he was going to be good then, but these people still shit on him. I mean, rightfully so after last year, because he really let down a lot of people in the finals while Wiggins was damn clamping them up. But I mean, this year he played pretty good, and now it's just negated because of an injury, and it sucks because his brother didn't have his fucking back because he's too busy turning the ball over more than he is making shots.
I mean, you can't, and not only that, but chunking up 3 stupidly, just chunk it up. No,
They're playing
Get
too much
quality of
one-on-one ball. And you know what? Again, that goes back to a coaching problem because that's when you caught it. Ime Udoka would have called a timeout, snatched their asses up and said, we're going to move the damn ball and play defense, and then move the ball. Not, we just got to get back. We got to space the floor. Yeah, move the ball. Stop jacking up threes, dummy.
When you don't move the ball, the shots aren't natural. They're not going to be consistent, and you're not going to make them.
Just like Charles Barkley said, he's seen all these guys, Brown and Derek White and Marcus Smart jacking up threes. He said, who the hell these boys think they are? Steph and Clay, because some of the shots they're just jacking up. Steph and Clay is the only two in the league that can make a shot like that. And Damian Lillard. Like some of the shots, they're just standing there holding up the ball and just
chunk.
Like just
Stupid.
dumb. Like it's when you're
Stupid.
playing 2K and just repeatedly hit the X button and you just constantly jacking up shots. That's exactly what happened.
Yep. It's mind-boggling. I mean, the Celtics have been flirting with disaster all postseason long, with the exception of the first round. Ever since the Philadelphia series, Philadelphia should have beat them. But James Harden had to pull a great magic trick and disappear. Ooh, now you see me. Ooh, now you don't. And Doc Rivers had to choke away another 3-2 series lead. Or we would be talking about Philadelphia and Miami in the conference finals. But no, they got lucky on that. And then they got lucky, like I said, to get at least two games, let alone get that Game 6 victory. They've been playing with fire all postseason long for the most part, and they got burnt at the worst possible times. And this is on Boston. This is all their fault. And honestly, even if they would have advanced to the finals, they still would have been gassed because Denver is waiting patiently. And finally, now they know who they're facing because they ain't got to go nowhere. They're just sitting there just chilling. And now they face Miami. Now, Miami's still banged up too. But Miami, unlike Boston, is not going to use that's a crutch. We're going to just, fold up into a fetal position and just say, screw it, we're done. No, they're going to show up. They're going to play their asses off. They're going to play hard. But I think Denver is the better team. But it wouldn't surprise me if Miami wins the finals because of the culture that they have down there in Miami, because Eric Spoelstra is a leader. Eric Spoelstra has won championships with LeBron, with Chris Bosh, with Dwayne Wade. He's been to the finals with Miami, with Jimmy Butler, without LeBron, without Dwayne Wade. And now he's back in the finals 2 out of the last 4 years, excuse me. And Miami, honestly, they might be an 8 seed, but they sure as hell ain't playing like an 8 seed. Because if they're healthy, if Oladipo's there, if Hero's there, they're one of the top 5 teams in the NBA.
Definitely. And you know what? I know since we're already jumping into it, but the NBA Finals preview, man, I don't have a dog in this race, but you know what?
Nope.
I really would like either outcome would be satisfying to me because, like Bill Simmons said, the Denver Nuggets have been the best team in the NBA since the 2018 Warriors with Durant, just because how they're constructed. They were drafted, homegrown, built some vets around off the bench. They remind me of a Golden State Warriors team, except a different play style. They drafted their superstar Jokic back-to-back MVPs like Steph Curry. They drafted his counterpart, Jamal Murray. They drafted Michael Porter Jr. They went out, got some veteran bench scorers who have absolutely torched, which I don't know how Bruce Brown didn't get picked up early as he did. He was tearing it up for the Nets last year while Kyrie and them were pouting and crying. He was a good player. Offensive skill, like he was scoring.
Caldwell Pope is a Caldwell Pope is a sharp shooter.
Caldwell Pope. I mean, anybody who leaves the Lakers is going to be good. I mean, look at Kyle Kuzma right now.
Kuzma,
he's tearing it up.
Yeah,
all
Kuzma,
those guys that left the Lakers are tearing it up. So I knew Caldwell Pope was going to be good.
And
Eric, here's the thing about this though. Denver is the better team, but I will not count the Miami Heat out because we've all said it the whole postseason except for maybe the Knicks. Oh, Boston has a better roster. Oh, because Miami's banged up. Oh, Giannis and them have a better roster because Miami's banged up. Oh, this, oh, that. But you know what? You can't teach heart. And what Miami's playing with right now is pure heart. Now, I mean, there are gas. Will that gas run out? I'm not sure. I definitely will say I'm picking the Nuggets in 6 games, but I definitely would not be surprised if I see the Heat in 6 games. I don't believe it goes 6. I'm going to go 6 games, but I definitely can see either or. So I think Denver should be the favorite, but I tell you what, if Jimmy Butler and company and Eric Spoelstra win a fucking championship, this might be the greatest underdog championship run in NBA history, outdoing the previous one of Dirk Nowitzki and the Dallas Mavericks from 2011 because of the talent these guys went through. We talk about Dirk going through Kobe, Dirk going through the Spurs, Dirk going through Miami. Now you look at Jimmy Butler, just went through a 2-time MVP, and Giannis just went through the Boston Celtics, who were just in the NBA Finals. If they could go through Jokic, another 2-time MVP, we got to start talking about Jimmy Butler being on one of the most historic underdog runs, Cinderella runs in NBA history because of what an uphill battle they've had to climb since day one. Just 4 weeks ago, a month ago, they were on the verge of being put out in the play-in. They lost the first play-in game, and they were struggling against the second one. Atlanta put them out the first play-in game. Then they turned around, and they almost lost it to the Raptors in the second one. And they won it at the in the last quarter, but still, they were on the verge of just being eliminated. And going from being eliminated to putting out a defending champion, Giannis, getting their coach fired too, by the way, beating Boston pretty handily outside of them other 2 games that got out of hand in game 4 and 5. They literally have earned their stripes this postseason. And I have nothing but love for Jimmy Buckets. Now, that's one dude that knows pressure. I don't care what you say. On and off the basketball court. Like Damian Lillard always says, pressure, it's just playing ball. That's not pressure. Pressure is being homeless like Jimmy Butler was. This guy was homeless. His mom put him out on the street, and his friend's mom adopted him when he was young. But you know what? That is pressure. And for Jimmy Butler to come up from that, hey, man, I would love for him to get a championship. I nothing but love for him or the Joker, because they both have been disrespected all freaking season and most of their careers. So either one that wins a championship, hey, I'm behind it 110%.
I absolutely love this finals matchup for a lot of different reasons, because it's the underdog versus, one of the top teams in the NBA in the last 4 years. And unfortunately for Denver a couple of years ago, they've had bad luck go their way. And now that they've had the fortunate, luck that the Golden State Warriors are out of there, they had an easier path to the finals. But Nikola Jokic and this Nuggets team is not to be messed with. I mean, Jamal Murray, I call him the Tony Parker of this team, because Tony Parker for the San Antonio Spurs was one of the most lethal, underrated point guards that could score in bunches. And Tony Parker, the older he got, had a better 3-point jump shot. And Jamal Murray has become that guy to Nikola Jokic. When Jokic is having a bad game, Jamal Murray can just step up and say, hey, fellas, give me the ball. I know what I'm doing, and I can do this too, and just Jamal Murray has that intensity that matches Jokic, and they know when to pull and pull off, and defer to their teammates. And that's what makes this Denver team so deadly, is their role players are ready to step up when called upon. Caldwell Pope, Eric Gordon, Bruce Brown. I mean, even a star role player, Michael Porter Jr. is no slouch. I mean, this team is loaded. And I mean, in Miami, honestly, even if the Celtics would have gotten to the finals, I still think Denver would have outclassed them as well. Because,
oh, definitely.
I mean, just the Celtics are inconsistent. Yeah.
But here's my main take on it is we probably have the two best coach teams left in the playoffs. Definitely. The Heat are very well coached, and Mike Malone is a good coach in his own right. So I definitely, a casual fan's gonna hate this shit and want to see them bum ass Lakers and the bum ass Celtics. But those two teams, I mean, the Lakers were they were better coached. I will give them that than the Celtics. But the Celtics were a poor coach team all year. I mean, just from the way they can't handle pressure, and that's a coaching problem. They can't make adjustments. That's a coaching problem. But you know what? Miami and Eric Spoelstra have made all the adjustments. They have fought. They have scratched. They have clawed. They have played good basketball. They have been playing great basketball. And Mike Malone has his boys playing great basketball. So a real basketball fan is going to, like myself, is going to love this matchup because it's against two very disciplined and very well coached teams, and that's all I want to see is good basketball. And I think this series will give you that. We're going to get a high scoring affair. I mean, it's going to be a very good chess match between Eric Spoelstra and Mike Malone, and I'm all here for it.
Yep.
I absolutely agree with all of that because, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, the Heat, they have been one of the most underrated, overlooked teams in this playoffs because everybody thought that when they lost that first playing game to the Hawks, they were like, "Oh, this Heat team is done. They ain't going nowhere." Even if they make it to the actual 8-team playoffs, they're not going to go far because they're going to face Milwaukee, and Milwaukee's coming off an NBA championship 2 years ago, and Giannis and Bobby Portis and Chris Middleton are going to go all over them. Well, 5 games later, look who is standing at the forefront. The Miami Heat. Next round, they go up against God, I'm trying to remember who they played in the next game, but the point that I'm trying to make here is the Heat have been one of the most overlooked, underrated teams in this playoffs. And honestly, Eric Spoelstra, like Kevin said, has been such a leader throughout this entire playoffs that nobody's underestimating this Miami Heat squad now. Nobody is. I mean, the fact that he has kept his players in check and the fact that he's not overexerting himself and the fact that the Heat players don't have too much confidence going into games is outstanding because, yeah, it is great to have a bunch of confidence in the game, but sometimes a little too much confidence can wind up costing you. And that's what we saw from Boston in this series. Boston was too overconfident, they were too cocky, and I mean, like I mentioned, or like we've all mentioned, they did not deserve to win this series. But yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled about this NBA Finals because on paper, this is the number 1 versus the number 8 team in the NBA Finals. But based on what we've seen out of both teams, we're looking at 2 number 1 seeds right now, fighting out for the NBA Finals. And the fact that this series could go either way, yes, Denver has had a much longer layoff since they swept LeBron and the Lakers in 4, as compared to the Heat going all the way to Game 7 to take out Boston. I mean, yeah, Miami might be a little gassed. They might be a little winded. But the fact of the matter is, Eric Spoelstra is a great leader, so he's going to have his players ready. Do I think they're going to win Game 1? Maybe not. But give them a couple games, and Miami could surprise us all. So, like Kevin said, I mean, I have the Nuggets in 6 in this NBA Finals, but I will not be surprised if this series goes to 7, or if the Heat can take 4 out of 6 from Denver, or 4 out of 7 from Denver. It will not surprise me at all. So this is absolutely a great NBA Finals matchup, and the bottom line that I'm making here is we're finally going to see a matchup, or possibly see a matchup that could be very, very amusing because we could be seeing Nikola Jokic from Denver versus Nikola Jovic from Miami. So,
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing like how the records, they don't speak for themselves. I mean, this is one of the few times where these records, these seedings, they don't matter at all. This is the most unique situation in NBA history where it's not, a number one versus the number two, a true number one versus a true number one, a true number five versus a true number three. Like this is the numbers, the records are out the friggin' door. This is not your typical finals, and I absolutely love it because having this unpredictability in these finals, it's going to be even more intriguing because we don't know what's going to happen, and I think that's great because the NBA for years was dominated by Kobe Bryant and the Lakers, Greg Popovich, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and the Spurs. Dirk and the Mavericks. The great Celtic team with Paul Pierce, KG, and Ray Allen and Rondo, all those years. Those Pistons teams, from 04 to 08, 09. I mean, they were running the league. I mean, and obviously back in the 90s, with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and the Bulls and, the Jazz with Karl Malone and John Stockton and, Hakeem Olajuwon, and the Rockets, and Barkley, and you can look through all the eras of the NBA, and we have never had a matchup like this where, usually you can tell who's going to make it to the finals because, all the great teams make it to the Final Four, and you're like, all right, either one of these four teams, it'll be great, no matter what. But this right here is so unpredictable, and honestly, I love it because don't get me wrong. It would have been cool to see the Celtics and the Nuggets in the finals, against each other. But this right here, this is such an unbalanced matchup. You don't know what's going to happen. Like Butler could erupt for 45 points for all we know in game one. Nikola Jokic could do another triple-double for all we know. The role players, these role players on these teams are unbelievable. Just the way they share the ball, the way that they play together as brothers on both of these teams. They're not going to bitch and moan, so-and-so went down with an injury. No. I understand that, in case with the Celtics, it was a hell of a run, but you can't make excuses. You have game 7 on your home floor last night, and you absolutely shit the bed against Miami. And it's not surprising that Miami won because Miami, they've won twice in that building already. During the conference finals. So to win 3 out of 4 games, on their home floor, that's a hell of a testament, a hell of a feat right there by Miami. And give credit to Coach Spoelstra and, and this team for making all the adjustments and stepping up and making all the right plays and all that stuff. So the NBA Finals are going to be getting under this Thursday in the Mile High City in Denver, Colorado. And it will be a very intriguing matchup between a number 1 seed versus the number 8 seed for the first time since 1999 when Popovich's Spurs took on Patrick Ewing and the Knicks.
Yep. And keep in mind that we have now witnessed history, like I mentioned to you, Stephen, last night. We have now witnessed history. The state of Florida has now produced the first 2 number 8 teams to reach their respective championship series. Florida Panthers in the Stanley Cup, and now the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals.
And the craziest thing is, both of these 2 teams can actually win. That's what's nuts.
Yep.
Like, could you imagine if Miami had Tyler Hero and Victor Oladipo on this team, healthy? They're one of the best teams in the NBA.
Without Tyler Hero, though, the Heat could even win this series. But with Tyler Hero, I'd say, sorry, Denver, Miami's winning this in 6 or 5 or 6, hands down.
I would say 6 because Denver's a great contender as well. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. That's why you play the game. And that's why I think Caleb Martin is going to become a very predominant role player with this Heat team in the next season. Because Miami has nothing to lose. They're playing with house money, and nobody's picking them. Nobody is picking Miami. And if you're Miami,
except for their own fan base.
Yeah, except for their own fan base. This Heat team has a true leader in Jimmy Gets Buckets Butler. I mean, this brother is dynamite on the floor. I mean, he is just such a lethal scorer, and he can do a lot of damage. And I mean, so as far as the Celtics are concerned, and after last night, after losing that game, what do you guys foresee this happening? I'll start with you, Joey, on this one. What do you think is going to happen to this Celtic team in the offseason? Is Brown going to be gone? Is he going to be sent packing his bags, and cut from the team? Is Al Horford gone? Is Marcus Smart gone? Is Derek White gone? I mean, this team is honestly, I don't think this team as we know them now is going to be the same this upcoming season.
As much as I would love to see this Boston Celtics team just crumble, I don't think it's going to happen. And as much as I would love to see Jaylen Brown go elsewhere, he is eligible for a Supermax deal in the offseason. And you better believe that Boston is going to pull every string that they possibly can to sign Jaylen Brown to that Supermax deal. And case in point, though, NBA teams also have cap spaces just like any other sports team that's out there. So signing Jaylen Brown to this I can't even speak, but signing Jaylen Brown to this Supermax deal means saying bye-bye to the following players: Grant Williams, Al Horford, Marcus Smart, because Boston is not going to be able to keep everybody. They're not going to be able to keep everybody if they sign Jaylen Brown to the Supermax deal. Yeah, unless Al Horford and Marcus Smart want to take pay cuts, but I mean, we got the NBA drafts coming up. Boston has a couple picks, so maybe they'll get some high-profile college players. Then again, maybe they'll just blow it like any other draft that they've had in the past. But, I mean, everybody is still saying that the Boston Celtics have one of the best odds to win the NBA championship next year. And honestly, based on the performance that we've seen and based on if Joe Mazzulla tends to do the same amount of crap that he did in this postseason, I don't see Boston making it far next season. I really don't. I mean, they can sign all their players back. They can bring in high-profile free agents if they wanted to. But unless Joe Mazzulla shakes that Celtics atmosphere to the core and really starts to nail into these players, Boston ain't going far in the playoffs next year.
No, they are not, because this team has been up and down for the past several seasons, and they cannot get over the hump because they just don't seem to have that laser sharp focus, eye on the prize. And I'm looking at Jaylen Brown specifically because Jaylen Brown up and down all season long, and especially since last year's finals, he's been a shell of himself. And that's what Tatum said last night. I was a shell of himself. Sure you were, because that ankle injury changed everything. And even if the ankle injury doesn't happen, it still wouldn't have surprised me if Miami would have won the game, because they've already won 2 games in the building. And Kevin, what do you think? Do you think that this team is going to blow up? Do you think Jaylen Brown's going to be gone? Do you think any of the role players like Horford, Smart, White, are any of these guys going to be gone next year? Because they cannot afford all these players at once.
Well, next year, no, because Jaylen Brown's contract negotiation isn't really up until next year.
Right.
But he's going to likely demand into the area of a $200+ million contract. And if I'm Boston, I'm not giving him that. You got to score. the way he played in Game 7, he deserves to get paid like a damn DoorDash driver, not a damn basketball player.
Yep.
But anyway, I just don't think they'll move on from Jaylen
Called
Brown.
him a DoorDash driver.
I personally think they're going to pay him because of the relationship with general manager Brad Stevens, who at the time in their rookie year was also the head coach of Brown and Tatum. So this is why you got to separate emotions from business, because his emotions and his relationship with Brown is what's going to keep this team together, even though they're failing. And I it's just a problem, man. And I don't know why you would do it, but like I said, this relationship, sometimes that's what made it so hard. In a different area, when I know it's just broke the news earlier today, but Golden State Warriors GM Bob Myers is stepping down from his position. Same situation. No matter how bad Draymond and Clay, how bad they were, this and that, Bob Myers wasn't going to get rid of them because of that emotional attachment. But, I mean, you never know, man. I just don't think Brad Stevens is going to let Jaylen Brown go. I just don't see it happening. I feel like they're going to ride or die with him. And especially he wants that much money with the new CBA that's limiting tax money and this and that. So a lot of teams are going to be pressed for money this offseason. So I think they're going to have some decisions to make this offseason, starting with their damn head coach. First of all, their downfall came from getting rid of Ime Udoka for whatever reason, because he had an affair with somebody in the building. Okay, it ain't Deshaun Watson. Let's just get that over with here. No. This was literally someone who was morally wrong, but was he criminally wrong? No. So that was a little stupid, because now Boston literally, that move came back to bite them directly in their butthole. Literally. Like, oh, okay, get rid of Udoka. Now you need him to make a coaching change. You need him to make adjustments, and now Miami beat you. So that's your own damn fault. Make your bed, you lie in it. So you get rid of Udoka for that crazy-ass reason really quick. It's just, it was absurd to me. But Mozilla is not the answer, and they need to realize that really quick. If I'm them, I'm trying to call on the phone. I'm trying to check out Budenholzer. Literally, Mike Budenholzer would be a better coach. He's an NBA champion. He knows defense. And also, because of the Miami Heat's historic run, let's just go ahead and say this right now. Milwaukee losing in the first round doesn't look so bad now, does it? Because Miami literally ran through everybody. So Milwaukee losing in that first round literally doesn't look bad at all. I still don't know why they fired Budenholzer, but if they fired Budenholzer for that, then the Boston literally needs to fire Mozilla for that in Game 7 that we speak of. Yeah, that should be their first move. Fire him, coach. That's your first move of business. And you know what? I would even be okay with Jaylen Brown staying, because I've seen how close they got last year with a good coach. So, okay, taking a step. If I'm Brad Stevens, I'm trying to find the best coach I can. See what it does next year. See how they can play. They were so close. They just ran into someone by the name of Steph Curry, for crying out loud. But they were so close a year ago, and they were a good coach team. Now it's just, that's what happens. That's why you can't win at home, and why they haven't won at home this year. If you're not well coached and you're not disciplined, you tend to slack up and slack off in home games, causing you to lose at home like you should not be doing. And they have. I mean, and the signs were all there, first of all. Like, literally Game 5 against the Atlanta Hawks, they had no reason whatsoever, and they blow that home game against the Hawks. Literally the Hawks. And you blow it. The signs were all there.
Oh yeah, like the signs were like a song of signs everywhere. There's signs, and the signs were right there, pointing in their face. And just, this Celtics team has to make a change, and clearly, this current core is not going to get it done.
No. Plus, Al Horford is probably going to retire.
What up, Tony? Hey, yo, yeah. Tony Justice checking in from the nation's corner.
Hey,
My fellow Metallica loving brother. Go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, I said Al Horford probably is going to retire. I don't see him being back next year. Not sure about Smart and Derek White. If I'm Boston, I'm definitely bringing Derek White back because he's the one that fucking clinched your ass and saved your ass from elimination in the first place in Game 6. So, yeah, Derek White definitely should be a priority, but I'm not sure about Grant Williams. I really ain't. And I'm not even sure about Marcus Smart because your so-called defensive player of the year has been getting cooked by undrafted players all year and getting cooked by the two-time MVP last year in Stephen Curry. So I don't know about your defensive player of the year, buddy, but he's getting cooked. And if that's what he's known for, then get him the hell out of my building too.
Oh, and Tony, real quick, Tony in the chat, I got that reference, that Allison Chains No Excuses reference. Love it. Absolutely love it. Hell yeah. But just the way that, I mean, Ime Udoka was a way better coach than Joe Mazzulla. I mean, Ime Udoka is not losing the first 3 games to Miami. I'm sorry. It ain't happening. Ime Udoka would have ran circles around Mazzulla with his coaching style in those first 3 games. You're going to lose one, maybe both. But Udoka is not going to lose all 3 games to Miami if he was the coach. Mazzulla, yeah, he did. He did. Because, I mean, it's like they got lazy with the ball. And they got lazy with their passes and lazy with their shot selection. And then they're like, oh, we're going to finally try. And then it was just too little too late. And it sucks for the ankle injury because Jason Tatum, God bless him, I mean, just played his ass off despite that ankle injury, rolling that ankle, and he wasn't the same, and neither was the team. And it was up to the team to pick Tatum up, and they didn't. They absolutely rolled over, and they just didn't pick him up. So hats off to Miami for surviving the Celtics in 7, and they will take on the Nuggets in the finals. And before we continue, folks, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at ON_Sports Show, Facebook.com/Nation Sports Show, and where we are live right now on YouTube.com/Nation Sports Show. Don't forget to hit and smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to keep up with our latest shows and clips and all of that good stuff. And also, don't forget to follow the Nation's Corner on Twitter at Nation's Corner. Everywhere else on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, it is at The Nation's Corner. And check out the Nation's Corner crew this Saturday night as the guys and gal talk about AEW Double or Nothing from this past weekend in Vegas, highlighted by the four pillars, fatal 4-way match for the AEW World title between MJF, Sammy Guevara, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, and of course Darby Allin. And that was one hell of a match. And they will be talking about that, and also the insanity that was Anarchy in the Arena between the Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club. And Takeshita turning on Kenny Omega during that pay-per-view and aligning himself with Don Callis and the BCC. And we shall see tomorrow night what will happen on Dynamite. And so check out the show this Saturday as they get their thoughts on Double or Nothing from this past Sunday. And also the latest happenings in the WWE, Impact Wrestling, and more. And moving on, guys, all I have to say is, what the hell, Arizona? Who in the hell are you to be giving away your best receiver, not to any team, but for absolutely nothing? Nobody. You cut him. You cut DeAndre Hopkins from your organization, and now Hopkins can go sign with whoever he wants to go play with because he is a free agent. And I'm sorry, but this Arizona organization has absolutely they have just absolutely screwed themselves. Like, this is embarrassing. I mean, they sucked in the draft. And they sucked even more just this past week getting rid of your best receiver. And Kev, I'll start with you because we were like, what are they doing? Like, you're giving away him for nobody, not even draft picks. You're going to cut him. Just boom, gone, goodbye. You're done. See ya. It's dumb. Dumb.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start with this. Just about a couple weeks ago, I went to the circus with my daughter, took her to the circus, and I literally looked up and said, wow, that is the Arizona Cardinals right there. All summed up into one when I was at that circus. A bunch of clowns, a bunch of dogs, a bunch of damn donkeys. Yep, that's the Arizona Cardinals. But anyway, I digress. I'm just saying that the Arizona Cardinals are literally the biggest, dumbest son of a bitch in the National Football League because they literally, love the Stone Cold reference, but literally, they literally could have waited 1 week later to cut DeAndre Hopkins and save themselves $18 million for the post-June 1st cut. Instead, they cut him out the ass real quick, and then boom, they have to pay the $22 million cap hit on their salary this year, paying a man to play for another team. How goofy is the Arizona Cardinals?
Very.
And you know what? All I can say is from a Niners fan, good. Let them implode. I'm loving this. That's one team I don't have to freaking worry about all year. But you know what? I think the speculation is that Hopkins was getting frustrated, man. I mean, and I would be too because Kyler ain't been healthy. He's been playing with like 4 quarterbacks. He's been suspended because they call him steroid boy. He's done took too much steroids. He got that roid rage in him. He's done pumped too much juice. I don't know if Vince McMahon might have gave him some, but no, he got suspended from that. Then he comes out and now he comes back and playing with a damn undrafted rookie quarterback come week 16 and has 1 catch in 3 weeks because nobody gets him the ball. So I think he was really frustrated about that. But as far as where I think he can go, honestly, dude, if it was a trade, I would say teams like Dallas, teams like Carolina, teams like all of that via trade who's got salary cap. But he came out on a recent podcast before he was cut, and they asked him who are 5 quarterbacks right now that you would not hesitate to sign with, to play with. He said Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Justin Herbert. Now, out of all those teams, the Chargers have no money because they decided to waste it on a fucking cornerback 2 years ago. But
yeah,
so they're done. I don't think the Eagles. I think they're content with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So I think they're out of the question. The top 3 I would say would be the Chiefs, because the Chiefs really need a number 1 receiver. I mean, they don't need him, but they would love him. They would literally put them like the 73-win Warriors team in NFL with DeAndre Hopkins at wide receiver.
Yep.
Like they won without a number 1 receiver last year. The Kansas City Chiefs did. But imagine you actually put a number 1 receiver on one side of the field and Travis Kelce on the other. Get the fuck out of here. How do you even defend that? So yes, Mahomes would love that. I don't know if they would do it. They got salary cap space. The Bills are another one. Can you imagine DeAndre Hopkins and Stephon Diggs with Josh Allen throwing you the football? They'll average 50 a game easily.
Oh, yeah.
Here's where I see him going, definitely, and because of money. I think the Bills and the Chiefs could give him 1 year just as a tryout, like earn your money back, because we don't really need you, but we would like your services.
Right.
I'll tell you a team who really needs him. That's a playoff caliber team. And that my friend, is the Baltimore Ravens. You don't have a number 1 receiver. You changed your offense up. Apparently, Lamar Jackson is going to only be running the ball 9% of the plays, not 95% of the plays. So it's going to be more passing oriented. And with that's the case, you need to give Lamar some targets. We've done discussed this. I'm not getting into it, but Rashad Bateman and Doomerville are not the way to go. Let me just say that. So you signed Odell Beckham. Odell is not a number 1 receiver at this point in his career. Hell, he was barely a number 2. But you know what? When he was a number 2, on the Rams behind Cooper Kupp, he was effective. So why not sign DeAndre Hopkins as that guy, that dude, and let Odell work in the slot or work as a number 2 receiver, as a decoy? That it'll work out a lot better. Lamar has someone dependable on the other side of Andrews as a number 1 receiver, and then we would see what this team looks like. They got money. Lamar's contract don't kick in until next year. He's still getting his base $26 million that he got, or $30 million he got from the franchise tag for this year. His contract don't start the next year. So they got money. I just want to see them use it, and I want to see them get DeAndre Hopkins, which I know Cowboy fans have been butthurt all over social media the last week because he obviously said he wants to play with a Pro Bowl quarterback, not Dak Prescott. So there goes their hopes of signing the
Sorry, Tony.
See ya. CD Lamb ain't going to CD center because they ain't gonna be able to CD Hopkins catch a ball either because he's not signing with Dallas. I don't think. Like I said, I'm going to say Kansas City or Baltimore. That's his best bet.
Oh my God. It always brings joy trashing the Cowboys, doesn't it? Sorry, Tony. Love you, bro. The Cowboys are going to come crawling. Oh, please, can you come to Dallas? Please come to Dallas. Please come to Dallas. Please come to Dallas. No.
Me being a fellow Commanders fan, and yes, Tony, if you're watching this, I understand you guys may think y'all have the best team in the NFC East, but let's keep it real. Y'all barely have the 3rd, maybe 4th best team at best because Washington's on his way up. Philly's coming off a Super Bowl appearance, and Dallas, well, they saw their hopes get crashed last year whenever Ezekiel Elliott got pounded by San Francisco, but I digress. But anyways, me being a Washington Commanders fan, I would love to see us get DeAndre Hopkins, but are we going to get him? No, we're not. And honestly, I'm okay with that. Because we got 2 good receivers and 1 who's up and coming. Of course, our star receiver being Terry McLaurin. Curtis Samuel was finally able to be healthy enough to play a full season last year, or almost a full season. And Jahan Dotson is on his way up. So, I would love for us to get DeAndre, but I know we're not going to get him because we don't have the cap space. And like I said, I'm okay with that. But I wouldn't be surprised if DeAndre Hopkins could go to a team like Buffalo, because if he would wind up going to Buffalo, then that would make Stephon and DeAndre Hopkins be the best 1-2 receiver punch in the entire NFL next year. So, I can see Kansas City and Baltimore in the hunt, but one team who I cannot see in this hunt is Philadelphia, because Philly, for one thing, doesn't have the cap space, and number 2, they've already gotten 2 amazing receivers in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So they don't need DeAndre Hopkins. So, I say my top 2 is going to be Kansas City, Baltimore, and Buffalo.
Yeah, he's played out said he don't want to be with a project quarterback. That's why I said Carolina would have been a great fit for him, give Bryce Young a weapon. But he don't want to wait on someone to develop. He wants to play with a Pro Bowl win-now quarterback because he is pushing 30. He's getting up there in age. You can't expect him to play top-notch for the long run. I'll tell you who a sleeper team would be based off of where they're located at. And you might think I'm crazy, but I don't give a fuck. I'm saying the Miami Dolphins are my sleeper team.
Honestly, I can
DeAndre on one side, Tyreek on the other side, and Jalen Waddle in the slot. I don't know a damn defense in American football that can stop that trio. But as far as my Niners, it's not a good fit at all. So I'm not even going to entertain the idea because our scheme fit is just running backs play everywhere. If you can run the football, you're playing at receiver. DeAndre Hopkins cannot run the ball. He can catch. He cannot run the ball whatsoever. So we leave that up to McCaffrey and Debo and Ayuk and Kittle and all them guys who can actually run after the catch. We're a yak team, not a possession receiving team. So But yeah, I definitely see Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo. I'll tell you who my other sleeper team I could see though. And you might laugh at me, but I don't care. I can really see Cincinnati, seeing as they might not be able to come up and pay T. Higgins. Put DeAndre Hopkins on one side with Jamar Chase on the other.
Stop it.
I might just throw in the white flag right then for the defense. God damn.
Dude, that would be a badass receiver combo right there.
But there is one sleeper team I will say actually is in the hunt, though, because of their history, and that is the Cleveland Browns with Deshaun Watson. Now, DeAndre Hopkins did say he would entertain the idea of reuniting with Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. They do need a number one receiver. Imagine that. Elijah Moore and DeAndre Hopkins. If Deshaun Watson can stop touching women and actually touch a football for once, he might actually start playing better.
What up, Big T? What's up, bro? How you doing?
That would be intriguing.
Big T checking in. He's a Panthers fan for those that don't know. What's up, dude? Yeah, but like Cincinnati to me is a sleeper pick that DeAndre Hopkins could go to next year, this upcoming season. I mean, like, who knows?
If anybody, let me just say this real quick. If anybody wants a well representation of the Cowboys hoping they get DeAndre Hopkins, just look up The Rock does a prayer with Billy Gunn back in the wrestling back in the 90s, and you will see a well representation of how Cowboys fans feel. Oh, dear God, please let us get DeAndre Hopkins. Because that is exactly how Cowboy fans are approaching this offseason for the last month now, begging for DeAndre Hopkins services. And it's just really funny. But yeah, I say as far as Arizona's concerned, kick them out of the league. Send them to arena football. Bring somebody else in.
Or send them to the Canadian Football League there, eh?
Yeah, he can play. Johnny Manziel will be their quarterback.
Oh, so he'll be throwing more interceptions than what's his face? Jameis Winston.
Yes.
He might be sober.
Oh wow.
Yep. So we shall see what happens in the offseason considering DeAndre Hopkins. And bad move, Arizona. Bad move. Bad freaking move. And we were talking about this briefly, but we'll bring it up now. And Kev, you brought this up briefly, but Bob Myers is stepping down from the Golden State Warriors. And obviously he's been in a hand in the recent run of championships. 4 out of the last championships in 8 seasons. And it's been a hell of a ride, hell of a run for this man, running this team. And just hats off to the organization for, all the great things they've done. All the great players that have came and gone from this team in the last, 8-9 seasons. And man, it's going to be really intriguing to see where Myers ends up next in the NBA. Wait a
minute. I can honestly pinpoint how you knew this man was a genius. You know how we all should have known that he was a genius? Because he was actually the agent in 2009, 2010, up until like 2011. He was actually Kendrick Perkins' agent, and he was actually to land him some money on a contract. So, holy crap. Shout out to Bob Myers. I don't know who the hell he finessed to give Kendrick Perkins a damn NBA contract, but hey, if Bob Myers was a genius, he finessed the hell out of somebody to give him money. But yeah, Bob Myers, man, all love to him. I've watched the brilliancy he's performed. I've watched the unselfishness of money of him and Joe Lacob just going out and spending, not minding to pay that tax penalty for these players because it came at the cost of them winning. His first move as a general manager was draft Klay Thompson, draft Draymond Green, draft Harrison Barnes, and then he signed Iguodala to that lucrative contract in 2014 that essentially tied him to the franchise for basically ever, the whole dynasty run outside of the 2 years in 19 to 21. But he did that. He went out and did the unthinkable, shocked the NBA world and set it on fire by signing superstar Kevin Durant in the summer of 2016. That literally shifted the whole module of the NBA right there because of they just made it unfair. That was considered to be a top 2 team in NBA history behind the 98 Bulls or 96 Bulls, the 72 win Bulls. Like that was considered a top 2 team right there. Did that. Then him and Steve Kerr together with their brilliancy, they tore the team down. They rebuilt it. They made some bits and pieces here, and they won another championship last year. So, hey, shout out to Bob, man. I just hope, and for all these idiots out there, sign with him, Bob, sign with this. No, if you listen to his presser, you idiots, you'd realize why he's stepping down. Has nothing to do with the team, has nothing to do with the money. He says he's got family obligations, and he don't want to screw Joe Lacob and Steve Kerr and Steph Curry up like that because he said a GM job takes 1,000% effort. He said, I just can't I don't think I can do that anymore because of my family obligations. So to the fairness of the organization, to keep them winning, I will still be in their ear, but I'm giving it over so someone else can have the chance to give their all in this. So Bob Myers is literally stepping away from basketball in general, not going to go sign with, the Phoenix Suns, such and such. He said Golden State actually made an offer to him to make him the highest paid GM in NBA history on the table. He left that lucrative of an offer on the table. So you know what though, man, shout out to Bob Myers, dude. I hope he has a good retirement, good family. I mean, just let's see what happens because I believe Golden State's gonna be in good hands though. Still got Joe Lacob, still got Steve Kerr. I could be in good hands. I just don't miss Bob Myers because he was always at the games, and apparently he was the only one that could actually reach out to Draymond when Draymond gets in that damn bad mouth mode when he's just going off in the damn games and cussing at referees. Bob Myers is the only man apparently that can calm Draymond down.
Well, now, you know.
And he did also say at the end of the presser, he said, and by the way, Joe, I'll still help with Draymond if you need me to. He said, because I know how to. I said, well, there's that.
Dang.
Yeah, shout out Bob, man. I'm happy for him. He's one of the most successful general managers the game has seen since the Laker days with Shaq and Kobe and them.
And obviously they're running with Gasol and Bynum and Kobe and
the Buss family. He was one successful, just kind of like how Danny Ainge was with the Celtics too. But Danny Ainge didn't last long. Bob Myers.
And obviously with Robert Kraft and the New England Patriots in the NFL.
Yep.
All those years.
Yep.
So we shall see what happens. And there's a lot going on. I mean, the Stanley Cup Finals is supposed to be starting here soon, and the Florida Panthers will be representing in the NHL Stanley Cup Championship Series, and they await the winner of that series because they still don't know is it going to be the Dallas Stars or the Vegas Golden Knights. We shall see what will happen. And honestly, I mean, I'm willing to ride the hot hand and pick Florida because Florida is just on a roll right now. They swept Carolina out of the Eastern Conference Finals. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Panthers somehow, some way pull out this championship series and become another number 8 seed, winning a Stanley Cup championship next to the St. Louis Blues.
It wouldn't surprise me either, but seeing as how, I mean, you can't underestimate what the Vegas Golden Knights have done in their short lifetime of being known as a professional sports team. I mean, this is their second Stanley Cup final in only 6 years that they have been an actual team. So you cannot underestimate this Vegas Golden Knights team. And yes, the Florida Panthers may have the hot hand right now, but I think Vegas has a little bit more talent. Do I think Florida is going to make this a competitive series? Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I can see this series going a full 7 games. I see Vegas pulling it out in 7.
Yep. I mean, Vegas has a lot of talent, but man, they got to get it done. They got to get it done. because Dallas is doing the same thing that the Celtics did to Miami, making it interesting, making it a series. And so we shall see what happens. I mean, my God, I mean, like, it's insane. Like, when you look at the state of Florida and what they have done in this spring of these playoffs and the NHL and the NBA, I mean, the Miami Heat and the Florida Panthers are on this run of a lifetime that you very rarely see. And not only that, but by 2 number 8 seeds. Like, this probably will not happen for some time in the distant future. This is something we will never forget, because we could be looking at 2 number 8 seeds possibly winning their respective championships.
We could.
And that into itself would be just insane.
We'll just see what happens. We'll see which team has more intensity.
Now, as far as, back to the finals go, like, is there any particular player on respective teams that you have concern in this series? Like especially when I look at the role players, I mean, Eric Gordon and Caldwell Pope, and, they had the tendency of hitting these big shots in big crunch times. Well, so does the Heat's role players. I mean, Gabe Vincent, other than the ankle injury that he had in Game 4, and he was out for Game 5, but Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, and, even Kyle Lowry, in this Miami role player squad, they're just as dangerous too. And I have some concern for both of these teams. Like, especially like can Denver's role players continue their hot streak of hitting, these shots, and I think they can, but Coach Spo is gonna come up with a great game plan, and he's been in the trenches for years. He's been in the finals multiple years. And if the Heat somehow pull off this series, like, it wouldn't surprise me in a way because of Coach Spoelstra and what he's got going on down there. Like, we shall see what happens. Like, Kev, I'll start with you. Like, do you have any concerns for this team, for either of these two teams, like, as far as the role players not showing up, not being consistent? Joey, what about you?
Yeah, I definitely have some concerns when it comes to this upcoming NBA Finals series. One main concern that I'm really worried about is from the Miami Heat side of things. And the reason I say that is because when everybody thought that Anthony Davis was going to overpower Nikola Jokic in the Western Conference Finals, look what happened. It was the exact opposite. So, Bam Adebayo on Miami is my biggest concern because Nikola Jokic is a former 2-time MVP. He is one of the best players in the NBA right now. So, he can easily overpower, out-rebound, outplay, outscore Adebayo if he needs to. So, if Miami did rely on the three-point shot a lot in the Eastern Conference Finals against Boston, but they're really going to have to rely on the paint because they got to throw Nikola Jokic off his game. And in order to do that, they're going to have an aggressive game plan down there in the paint. And unless Adebayo can find some way to really throw Jokic off his game, I think Denver is going to manhandle everything inside the paint. Everything. Because Nikola Jokic is a tough force to be reckoned with. He's not a pushover. This dude can make plays whenever he wants to, whether it's on the offensive or defensive side of the ball. So that is definitely my biggest concern for Miami is Bam Adebayo against Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, you got a point because, now Nikola Jokic has been playing some really solid basketball in these last couple of rounds, especially in the conference finals. Now, he did have that one kind of I wouldn't call it a stinker, but, a subpar performance by his standards, having 9 points through 3 quarters against the Lakers in Game 3 of the Western Conference Finals. But Nikola Jokic is just such a complete player. I mean, for a guy at his size, at 7 foot tall, and passing the basketball like he does, like a point guard, and shooting the ball like a true shooting guard, or even a small forward, and just having that Dirk Nowitzki, type of reach, because Nowitzki was so good at, hitting these off balance jump shots, and Nikola Jokic is just just a high volume shooter and just incredible range for a big man. And I really think that this Denver team, they're gonna make moves. They're gonna be fine, I think, in these finals. I mean, now, just it all depends upon, can Michael Porter Jr. get off the snide? Can he be consistent? Can Eric Gordon be consistent? Can Caldwell Pope be consistent? Because, man, they're in that Lakers series. I mean, Caldwell Pope and Gordon were just hitting these timeless shots, and so was Porter Jr. as well. And just every time the Lakers made a run, those guys, either one of those three guys, were there to make timeless threes. And just like at the Miami series, I mean, Caleb Martin was making these timely baskets. Well, what do we have here?
Well. Look who we have here. If it isn't the man behind the genius, toothless Stone Cold himself.
What's up, y'all?
What's up, man?
What's up?
Damn. Coming in out of nowhere. I love it.
Yeah, just got back. I left a little early because let's just say that people were having a little too much fun. They were getting a little too hammered. So I'm like, yeah, I'm getting out of here. Because if I did, I'd probably end up being the one on the floor next to them. So, just for reference.
I
was watching your guys' show, and I was commenting in the chat the past few minutes on the way home.
Nice.
Nice. I do agree with you that Bam Adebayo is definitely a cause for concern, because his progression throughout the past couple series has not been good. He has not had good productivity, and that's something that's very concerning. The one X factor I will say, I talked about that, I put this in the chat, is when they get to game 3, Tyler Hero.
Yep.
Because Tyler Hero is expected to be back game 3. Yep. As long as everything's all good to go. So if they can tie this series up at 1-1 apiece, and then Tyler Hero returns to basically compete the lineup minus Victor Oladipo, that's a big X factor. But like you said, concern-wise, Bam Adebayo is a guy that definitely concerned me because of his shot selection. And I mean, he had a couple missed shots, but Duncan Robinson is not. The one thing is when they put him in clutch situations, Duncan, and he dropped the ball, especially in the past couple games of the last series. He was
wide open threes.
He couldn't make them.
That was ugly.
And that made me scratch my head. Like, we put you in these situations. Like, why in the hell are you not making these shots? And it's, you've got wide open looks, 3-point shot, which is your specialty. You can't make the baskets. I understand pressure is pressure, but this is a big time game. This is a big time situation. You got to make those shots when they count. And Duncan did do it. So that's a little cause for concern for me as well.
Yeah, I just feel like Tyler Hero, when he comes back, Caleb Martin's been playing so good. Eric Spoelstra is not going to take Caleb Martin out of the lineup.
Oh, no.
They might run Caleb Martin and Tyler Hero in the same lineup, but Caleb Martin cannot leave that lineup. He's playing with such a hot hand right now. I don't know if it might be Max Strus coming off the bench and letting Tyler Hero get some love, or they might just work Tyler Hero in with the second unit like he's always been, a 6-man. Just come in and play with the second group. Get his feet under him, get some shots up. I mean, and kind of limit him on minutes. I mean, because he missed the last 2 months with the broken wrist. So, I mean, just kind of let him get his feet wet. But keep Caleb Martin as your guy. Him and Butler have to be on the floor together.
That's what I was going to say. Would they put him on obviously, they'll put him on a minutes restriction because he's coming back after so much time off.
Yeah.
They're not going to put him out there, play 30, 40 minutes and expect him to produce because that's such a long layoff with that broken hand. He's got to get that feeling back. He's got to get his wind back as much as possible within a short amount of time, depending on where the series lands. If let's say they are tied okay, that gives Tyler a little bit of breathing room to get his wind back underneath the sails, and get himself warmed up for the next game as well. But if they're down 2-0, Tyler's got to come in there and he's got to come in there. He's going to be more pressured to try and get himself back up to par to where he should be.
Right.
Yeah, but like we've been discussing, Ezra, like Eric Spoelstra's such a good coach. I know he's going to have them guys playing at a right tempo because I know even with Tyler Hero, let's just say when he was hurt, they were still playing good basketball. So there's no need to rush Tyler Hero back because as long as Strus is producing, knocking down some shots, I mean, we know we talked about Duncan in the clutch, but he's still knocking down a couple shots here and there. Then we talk about Strus and Vincent, all them guys, and then we talk about like all them guys, Caleb and all them, like they're stepping up. So I mean, like if it ain't broke, I'm not gonna fix it. So I'm gonna let them play, but I'm not gonna Jaylen Brown them like they did in Game 7. Oh, you need to shoot. You have to shoot. We need you to score. No, just run our offense. If you get an open look, take it. If not, give it to Caleb Martin. Let him take it. Give it to Jimmy Butler. Let him get down low. Run pick and roll with Adebayo. Something like that. Just get an open look. Don't force nothing. And Eric Spoelstra does a phenomenal job of not forcing something. But yeah, it's interesting for this game because it kicks off Thursday night at 8:30 on ABC. But we got to talk about the game the night before. It's called the Cancun Finals with the Lakers and the Celtics on Wednesday. Battle of Cancun. Which one of them's going to win? That's what all the NBA casual fans wanted, Lakers Celtics. So you know what? Go watch their Cancun playoffs because they're probably living it up in Cancun right now. Hell, Denver's been in Cancun for 10 days as much rest as they've had.
Hell, LeBron was 4 minutes earlier than everybody else.
Came back to the States. Flew back to Denver. They've been chilling. Denver has been chilling. But no.
Kevin, LeBron was 4 minutes ahead of everybody else because he left early.
That's not unusual. But no, for real. Game 1, I'm going to give the edge to Denver because of 2 reasons. For one, the rest, and there is a chance of rust. I get that. But number 2, Miami just came off a grueling 7-game series. Not just that, you're going above elevation in Denver, Colorado. That like being above elevated that high is really fucks with an athlete because it makes it harder to breathe. The harder to catch your breath, and we watch this in every series. Any team that's winning there in Game 1, they've looked gassed. The Lakers being the last victim, but you figured they'd have energy. No, they look gassed because of them playing in the elevation, the conditions of being that high up in the mountains. I mean, the wind feels like you're short of breath, can't catch your breath. You feel out of shape. That's what it is like playing in Denver, Colorado. So, but yeah, you got the best passer in Denver, then you got Russell Wilson. But I digress. Nikola Jokic is the best passer in Denver, Colorado. And then you got some jabroni named Russell Wilson who just looking good in the uniform, making $250 million for nothing.
But yeah, it's really interesting that, like just how just how this series can unfold, and anything can happen. Anything and everything can possibly happen because what if Tyler Hero comes back and absolutely dominates, and he hasn't lost a step? It could well happen.
It could very well happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, and as we were talking about this on the show as well, what are your thoughts as far as the Celtics go? Because after going 3 consecutive games after a miraculous, shot by Derek White in Game 6, to tie the series at 3. And then in Game 7 on your home floor, yes, Jason Tatum had the unfortunate ankle injury and stuff. It just seemed to me that the rest of the team it's like they gave up. They didn't know what to do because their fellow teammate, their star teammate, goes down with this hard injury, this gruesome injury because it didn't look good, at first. And then obviously Tatum played hobbled the rest of the way for 42 minutes and just gutted it out, and hats off to him. But Jaylen Brown absolutely was putrid. He was horrible in this game and had 8 turnovers, 8 field goals. Just the defense was getting just picked apart by Jimmy Butler and Adebayo and everybody in Miami. And just this, they got beat again on their home floor by Miami. And Miami, for the most part, in this series was the better team. But what I want to know from your perspective is, like, why did the Celtics come out as flat as they were? Was it because they were gassed? Was it because Miami was just, as we all know, they were the better team in this series? Like, what do you think was the sole reason why this team lost in Game 7?
Well, first of all, this game should have came with a disclaimer that said choking hazard on it, because obviously that's what happened. But no. But in all seriousness, I'm kidding. For what it was, I think maybe it was a combination of Boston had to work so hard these past couple of games to really get themselves back into some sort of contention to win the series. You gotta think they won 3 straight games, big games, critical games, and they had to work super hard. Not saying that the Heat did, but they had a little bit of a cool-off period. I mean, Jimmy Butler, you saw in Game 6 how almost, the key word on that is how almost tentative Jimmy Butler was in the paint. And he wasn't shooting. And I know he was battling a slight knee injury at that time. And then
in the fourth quarter, he caught fire and scored 15 in a row. I mean, he just turned it on. And that was also partially due to the Celtics inept to keep a lead because their lead wasn't safe.
Yeah, but also the lead was there, I think, was because, like you said, Duncan Robinson wasn't getting his 3-point shots down. Jimmy Butler was looking unbelievably tentative and, very unlike Jimmy Butler to be that way. And I think that's because of the injury. I think that's because of just, they thought they were going to close the series out and they thought it was game over, but you can't count a team out, especially a team like Boston who, when they're on, they're on. I think they gassed themselves out. I think they just gassed themselves out. And when it came time and they looked at, and they showed that they couldn't make shots, Miami went for the throat. And that's exactly what they did. They turned it on. Jimmy was feeling good, feeling confident. Gabe Vincent was playing really good. Everybody was playing their roles and doing an awesome job. And so when it came down to it, Miami was just a better team. They came in, they were refreshed. It seems like they were reinvigorated even though they lost that Game 6 by that layup at the last second. It reinvigorated that team because Jimmy was playing like himself. Vincent was playing real well. Adebayo was showing some life. The team itself altogether was playing very cohesively. But yeah, I think Boston just looked tired because they had to work so damn hard to get those 3 games in a row, and they just probably ended up, just took the foot off the gas, and the Heat made a pay for it. So. And that's why we're at where we're at right now, heading into the NBA Finals with Denver and them coming up on Thursday. So, and I'm excited for that game. And Steven, real quick, I know we're talking basketball, but I also want to give my opinion on the Stanley Cup Finals. First of all, congratulations to the Vegas Golden Knights on winning their series 6-0, 4-2 overall. Congrats, Vegas Golden Knights, Florida Panthers, Stanley Cup Finals. I'm excited. I don't know how this one's gonna go because either team can play, because Florida dominated Carolina and made them their bitch. So, but then again, Vegas Golden Knights are hungry and looking to get a title. So, I can't call that one. I'm just this one series I can't call, and I'm gonna have to just play it by ear. But as far as the NBA Finals, I'm gonna go Denver in 6, and the reason why is because Jimmy's going to keep them in it. Gabe Vincent's going to keep him in it. Duncan Robinson's going to help out and hopefully make his shots. Hopefully Bam Adebayo shows up and plays better. Like I said, and then, of course, the return of Tyler Hero. So a lot of key factors in that series, but that Denver team is lights out, shooting. They're all sharpshooters on that team. I mean, Jokic has been playing out of his mind. The whole team itself is built for this moment. And I feel that they're going to win in 6 games. I think Miami's going to win 1 on their home floor. But when it comes down to it, I think that the Nuggets are just going to take them out fiercely. So,
Yep, we shall see what happens because this series is unpredictable. I mean, Vegas could win it. Florida definitely could win it, especially after the dominant role that they have been on since eliminating the Boston Bruins in 7 games and now en route to the Stanley Cup Finals, taking on Vegas. And it's going to be a very wild series. And both of these 2 championship series are going to be very, very intriguing to see what happens. And we were also talking about the news of DeAndre Hopkins getting cut from the Arizona Cardinals, stupidly, yes. I may add. Where do you think that DeAndre could end up next? Like, what championship contending team could possibly snag him, or what team do you think that maybe he could go to? Because we've talked about maybe Kansas City and Buffalo could go after him, or maybe Cincinnati could go after him.
You know what, Steven? That is actually one of the picks I was going to go with, the Cincinnati. Imagine DeAndre Hopkins catching balls from Joe fucking Burrow. That is a recipe for lethal injection. That is insanity. But he could go anything. He could go with Buffalo. He could, and they always need a good wide receiver. It doesn't matter. He can fit as long as A, the price is right, and B, the history for a championship is there. Kansas City would be good. I could see that Patrick Mahomes gaining another weapon, which I think he needs. Like I said, Josh Allen could always use a guy like DeAndre Hopkins too, even though they got a really nice core lineup on their own. But yeah, I think the top 2 frontrunners for me are Kansas City and Cincinnati for him. And it's a stupid thing that the Arizona Cardinals did by cutting him. It's not like he's that old. It's not like he's beyond his years. The guy can still play. The guy's an elite receiver. You can't tell me no different. That guy, DeAndre Hopkins, is one of the best. And for them to cut him like that is beyond ridiculous. I don't know what that organization is thinking. Unless they're too busy. Unless they were too busy trying to get what's his name at the time pulled from Call of Duty in his therapy sessions. I think it's just a ridiculous notion for them to do that. But you know what? What's their loss is going to be some great championship contending teams gain, and they're going to gain a great receiver, great hands, great movement, who's going to help push them forward to the next step in their championship aspirations.
Yep, we shall see what happens in that situation as well. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, folks, at Owen_Sports Show, Facebook.com/Nation Sports Show. And also don't forget to follow us right here on YouTube, where we are live on most Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 p.m. Pacific time on YouTube.com/Nation Sports Show. And man, oh man, it's been an action-packed show. And talking about the NBA Finals and getting really in depth to that, because there's a lot of matchups in this finals between the Nuggets and the Heat. And also too, we were damn it, I just pulled a Dave. Shout out Stella Greca. So Ezra, we were also talking about how Bob Myers is stepping down from the Golden State Warriors as their general manager. And where do you think he will end up next as far as managing what team, like who could use him the most? Because there's a lot of scenarios where another contending team could get his services, and maybe Myers can transform another organization into a winning organization.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it sucks Bob Myers left. I mean, he was integral to Golden State's success and their dynasty that they built. To me, I feel like there's a lot of teams there's a lot of different scenarios you can put him in, because there's a hefty amount of teams. If you put him maybe with the Houston Rockets, he could maybe help rebuild them from ground zero to up, maybe. I'm looking at teams that need that more based on their previous records, their success, their failures. I think Houston could use them. Maybe, I mean, I don't know who else I can think of off the top of my head, but I know Houston's one. Maybe Detroit could use him because of that genius mind he has. He could help rebuild the Pistons, maybe. There's a couple of options out there. And like I said, I know Kevin was a bit. Oh, we lost him for a second. He might have to log off. But for Kevin, as far as it is, I know that's a bit hard for him because obviously it's a big blow to his team. But like I said, whoever's their loss is going to be his gain. So Bob Myers, I could see him going to either Detroit, team like Houston, just because I think he could help get them back to the level that they. Not to say, not just I think he can help those teams start to rebuild their form of success that they had at one time.
Yep. Any of these teams is possible. I mean, Myers is such a credible manager. He knows what he's doing. He knows.
Bob Myers. If you want to help us get rid of fucking Jerry Reinsdorf, you can come to the Bulls. Get rid of Gar Forman. Get rid of Jerry Reinsdorf. Come to the Bulls.
Yep. He could possibly do that. But is there any other thing you guys want to talk about before we wrap this bad boy up?
I actually would like to bring something up just real
Go
quick.
ahead there, brother.
I want to see what your guys' thoughts are about one of the other big news that's coming out of the NFL, and that is the fact that the Washington Commanders may have to undergo another name change.
Oh boy,
because they lost their trademark appeal.
Oh my goodness! I don't know what you name them then. I don't know. I don't know if you just go back to Washington football team. Do you go with the? I don't know, dude. It's hard to tell what a name could be.
I mean, I would hate for us to lose our name already, but if I had to pick a name for us that would
Washington Capitol Rioters.
No. But yeah, if I had to pick a name that I was liking from the very get-go, as well as any other Washington fans, I would say the Washington Red Wolves. Because I mean that name just really stuck out to me. I mean, yeah,
it sounds more like a Joey. It's a good name, but to me, it sounds like more of like a college football team.
I mean, yeah, it could, but I mean that's just the one name that really stuck out to me.
No, and that could be a possibility. I'm just saying, to me, when I think of Red Wolves, it makes me think of like a Division I college football team. You know what I mean?
Of course, I wouldn't mind us going back to our old name, the Redskins, either.
That's gonna happen when hell freezes over. By the way,
Yep.
Really, I mean, whatever they go with is whatever they go with. Me, I could care less either way. I mean, it sucks they lost the trademark battle, but it is what it is. Business is business, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Yep.
Yep. As far as anything else from me, outside of the usual stuff we just talked about, definitely wanted to. I thought there might have been some UFC news that came up just recently, but could be wrong. Actually, no. Actually, no. Outside of that, really, just want to say real quick before we log off, what a crazy week it's been in the world of pro wrestling, and we know Nation's Corner is going to talk about it, from Battleground to Double or Nothing to everything else in between. And I know I get flack for mentioning, not flack, but always get tagged for mentions because it's funny. But GCW has their tournament coming up this weekend called Tournament of Survival. It's the one-night deathmatch tournament. It's their 8th edition. They've been teasing a final participant in the tournament, which is already loaded with people like Joey Janela, like Matt Tremont, like the ultraviolet champion Rina Yamashita. It was announced yesterday that New Japan's own El Desperado will be a part of the Tournament of Survival deathmatch tournament.
Nice.
And Despy has had a couple of death matches back in Japan and in Mexico, including one where he suffered a broken jaw and had his jaw wired shut for a month. So yeah, just wanted to mention that real quick before we go. But outside of that, it was great to pop on for a few minutes with y'all. And like I said, follow us on our socials, follow us everywhere else you can get at. Follow my stuff, Too Sweet Cosplay, of course, all that stuff I usually do at the beginning. But for tonight, Steven is going to close us out. Joey, you want to say anything before we go?
Just hope everybody has a great rest of the week and stay safe. Enjoy the NBA Finals starting Thursday. Enjoy the baseball, no matter where you are. Just enjoy sports in general. Peace out.
And
Yes.
one more thing before we go. We also wanted to wish everybody yesterday a happy Memorial Day, and thank you to all the veterans, and thank you to everybody who made the ultimate sacrifice to keep our freedom. So, salute to all of you.
Yes.
Couldn't said it any better, my friends. And great show with you guys tonight, and recapping the world of sports. And this was a lot of fun. I mean, talking about the NBA Finals coming up. Finally, we know.
Let me get in real quick into the Stone Cold. I'm gonna come in here and take you out to the toe, you dumb son of a bitch. Come in there and stun your stupid ass. What?
Thank you for that, Mr. Stone Cold, Toothless Stone Cold.
Stone Cold.
Oh my God, that was great. A drive-by appearance by Toothless Stone Cold. But anyways, great show with you guys talking about the previewing the finals and the fact that the Nuggets, now we know they're taking on the Heat in the finals, and this should be a hell of a series. And also the Vegas Golden Knights taking on the Florida Panthers in the Stanley Cup Finals. That is happening, and man, oh man, it is a great time to be alive as a sports fan. And it's going to be really interesting to see how these two series, end up and stuff. And will they go the distance? Will they go 6-7 games? Who knows? But we will have you covered on all the action in the Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA Finals and everywhere in between. So with that being said, for K-Rock, Kevin Rory, Joseph Thornton, Ezra Vickery, and Toothless Stone Cold, for that matter, I have been your host for this evening, Stephen Wyand, and we are out of here. And we will see you next week for another action-packed edition of our Nation Sports Show. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the week of sports. Enjoy the weekend with your family and your friends. And let's enjoy the championship series in the NBA and the NHL and everything in between in the world of sports. And we are out of here. Take care. Peace.